Hello indie game fans, I have another variety pack of awesome upcoming indie games across genres, so let's begin with Muchacho Bean, a game that is just fun to say and is an endless runner action roguelite in which you play as a bean, falling over cliffs and blasting away at enemies below. It does remind me of Downwell to some extent, but of course, you're not exactly jumping on the heads of enemies, where this has both procedurally generated levels as well as a challenge mode with handcrafted levels and looks like a neat little game. I got the news via email that Baladins finally has a release date, since it's an awesome looking RPG title that sure looks to bring the tabletop D&D type experience to the digital frontier. It supports up to 4 players, which are limited to 4 unique character classes, but individual players are able to split off and go do their own thing, or you can adventure in a group together. It's a lot of choose your own adventure type gameplay together with dice rolling with skill checks like a tabletop RPG. The art style is awesome and you can play solo, but if you have a regular crew of TT RPG friends or don't and want a similar experience, this might be the next game for you.
Together they sing the Baladins hymn. This is it, their time is now.
This video is brought to you by Neko's Reach, a sci-fi post-apocalyptic roguelite platformer in which you play as a cyborg fighting off hordes of bio-robotic enemies.
Human being liberated.
This mixes gorgeous hand-drawn anime portraits with stunning pixel art, and as is the case with roguelite platformers, the action is where it matters. It looks promising since our heroine is able to equip a bunch of different equipment and weapons, zipping around the level rapidly in order to destroy her enemies. There are also fun additions to the exploration that are kind of Metroidvania inspired, such as having cracked walls indicating a hidden passageway or treasure, all with the compelling roguelite gameplay loop of combat, loot, death and meta progression. So if interested, wishlist the game on Steam and stay tuned to the channel and I'll let you know when the demo releases. This next title is almost funded on Kickstarter with about 2 weeks to go, so it should easily cross that mark and is of interest since Swordhaven Iron Conspiracy is a classic party-based CRPG in a medieval fantasy world. So far so standard, but it comes to us from developer Atom Team, who are best known for their 2 entries in the Atom RPG series, which were basically indie takes on Fallout 1 and 2, since Bethesda went to first person from Fallout 3 onwards. The Atom RPG games have been pretty successful, so it's interesting to see their take on this classic setting, with the non-linear world and quests with multiple solutions being the main draws to me. Good news everyone, the awesome 3D platformer SCHiM also has a release date in July and immediately got attention when it was first revealed due to the concept and gimmick alone. You play as a little shadowy frog creature that has to hop from shadow to shadow, making use of the environment, moving objects and even changing the camera angle in order to get from point A to B. Games like this showcase how the unique selling point or gimmick of the game is one of the most critical aspects of a video game, since this recreated the childlike wonder in players, similar to games that kids play, such as not stepping on the lines in between the tiles or the floor is lava, and adds in a wonderful stylized look. I'm not sure how long or how mechanically deep this game is, but it sure looks like a delight. I remember covering Moon Samurai many years ago, after which the project then went quiet, which explains its absence from my upcoming pixel art games videos, and it has resurfaced with a Kickstarter campaign no less, although the target amount is huge and I don't know if they will get there. This is a sci-fi action platformer set in the lunar city-state of Ram City, in which our hero is betrayed and thrown into jail, but an opportunity arises for his escape, and now on the run, he must work together with an AI to uncover a conspiracy that threatens the entire moon. Of course, me being me, the pixel art got my attention and it looks awesome with stylish combat and a huge variety of weapons. The developers seem to be taking inspiration from movies, from Hong Kong action movies, and even a boss that is inspired by Chuck Norris, with combat being the thing in this game. The developer also talks about using climbing, parkour, and solving puzzles to explore the city, so it should be Metroidvania-like in nature, so I hope it makes it to release someday. Another game which received a release date confirmation is Cat Quest III, an action-adventure title with RPG elements that comes to us from the Gentle Bros, one of the most successful Singaporean indie developers, so I have to give them a shout out. Cat Quest II did feature dogs, but this third entry is a return to just cats, and now has a pirate theme, where if I'm remembering correctly, this game at one point had the subtitle Pirates of the Caribbean, so it's a pun-filled adventure in good humour. The art style looks similar to their earlier games and continues to look awesome, of the almost isometric but pulled down camera angle and the way that the characters travel and fight on the overworld that resembles a map, with this game releasing just one day before Singapore's National Day this year. So here's hoping they make Singapore proud once again. I did not see this one coming since they straight up announced SteamWorld Heist II on a random day, where I thought that something like the III initiative or a summer showcase would be a better spot instead. The original SteamWorld Heist was an underrated game from 2016, often overshadowed by the more popular SteamWorld Dig franchise of Metroidvania-ish games, but it is still worth a play, with this sequel looking to be a bigger, better version of that game. It is a turn-based tactics title, but it's not like Fire Emblem, XCOM or Advance Wars, since this is from a sight-on perspective and has you moving your characters around and manually aiming their shots instead, even being able to bounce and ricochet your projectiles off surfaces. As such, there's nothing quite like this game, which is why you should try the original if you have not played it, and if you love it, do wishlist the sequel, which is out on August 8th as well. Ever so often, there are games that come out of nowhere and blow people out of the water, and such is the case with Runa, a turn-based Japanese-style RPG in a fantasy world that looks absolutely beautiful, reminding me of the Xenoblade Chronicles games in some spots, with a dose of Persona for good measure. It has an interesting mix of almost modern-day-like cities but in a larger fantasy world filled with monsters, with the turn-based combat system having an elemental strengths and weaknesses system of 7 elements, so it's fairly Pokemon-like in that sense. However, characters are human and have a social link aspect to them, even having a romance and relationship system, base building, mini-games and so much more. Not surprisingly, this has raised about $188,000 as of recording, of a goal of $48k, with plenty of time to go, so it is easily blowing past their stretch goals. Of concern, however, is that this has a November 2026 release target, which is kind of far away but not that ridiculous given the ambition and scope of this game, so the question is whether or not it will get to launch or if it will be delayed, but here's wishing them all the best and congrats on the success so far. One of the standout games announced at the III Initiative Showcase is Undermine 2, the sequel to an action roguelite from 2020, which is rather underrated all things considered, having one of the most compelling gameplay loops in which you seem to get new upgrades and unlocks after every run. The sequel seems to be having a focus on co-op with the addition of a second character, but more interestingly is how similar this game is to the original. I am looking at side-by-side screenshots as I'm writing this, and it looks pretty much the same, with one main difference being some additional lighting effects, with there even being a returning boss fight that is shown in this trailer, but there are supposed to be branching paths and new regions in this game, so structurally I'm interested to see how similar it is and if this is an efficient way of making a sequel. Hello random Metroidvania to close off the video in Eden's Guardian, a game that really doesn't need the help since it's on Kickstarter and has raised more than 8 times its target, and is pretty much a slam dunk in terms of art style and genre, since this follows in the footsteps of games like Blasphemous and The Last Faith. So much so that I was not surprised to see its early success and can only hope that the final game is good. I'm not quite sure what the explanation is, but the main gimmick in this game is that our heroine is able to throw her sword and then teleport to it, using this ability to get behind enemies or to fire it off an enemy's shield and up into the air, teleport to it and then come slamming down to the ground in a powerful downwards attack. While animated trailers are not necessary, it is excellently done here, along with the expected fearsome bosses and brutal combats and executions. I'm not sick of this kind of game just yet, since there really aren't that many, which I suspect is due to how difficult great pixel art is to make, so hopefully this lives up to the hype. Watch this video for more upcoming Metroidvanias.